This week on Half Step Down, Renee and I are going to talk about movies that did not age well for one reason or another. Maybe some un-PC language, maybe some outdated thoughts, maybe some outdated ideas, maybe some plot points that just wouldn't fly today. Either way, it's going to be a real fun talk and it's going to be real interesting, I promise. But I do want to let everyone know to go to halfstepdownpod.com. It is your one-stop shop for all things Half Step Down. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at halfstepdownpod. You can check out the Instagram stories for little previews of some new tunes. Facebook.com/halfstepdown. And we are still on that road to 100. Go to YouTube, search up Half Step Down Pod in the search bar, and follow us so that we can get a custom URL. Anyway, here's the show.
Literally rolling. So you mean figuratively rolling?
So you see this?
Uh-huh.
You see how the recorder, it looks like it's rolling across?
I didn't see that.
Yeah. That's because you don't edit the show.
Oh. Welcome, everyone, to Half Step Down, where two aging punk rockers talk about punk rock, popular culture, and everything in between. I am your host, Renee Grano, and with me is the other host, the worst half of the show, the editor, Jose Martinez. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing not bad at all.
Nice. We're having a beer today, which is cool.
That's right.
Yeah,
nice.
This might be the first time we've ever had a drink while recording the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
It's nice.
I like it. It's a good feeling. It's summertime. The only time for me to kick it with you.
I know we're very busy during the year.
Very busy during the year. So it feels good to have some time off a little, right? It just feels good.
I'm very excited to have time to just kind of hang out and do things and not have to worry about work.
I do want to bring something up, something that Shayla, my girlfriend, mentioned to me during the week. Excuse me. And she says that lo-fi doesn't calm her down. Lo-fi actually gives her anxiety because it reminds her of Adventure Time and her mind just starts to wander.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of interesting because we did have an episode on lo-fi on how lo-fi is just like made to help you study, made to help you do things. And for her, it's just the total opposite.
Well, I will tell you that I think a lot of the lo-fi craze did come from the fact that Adventure Time had a lot of that.
Had a lot of it, yeah.
I mean, Adventure Time gives me a nostalgic feeling. There's something about that show that reminds me of something. It gives me nostalgia for something I never experienced, which I think a lot of those lo-fi channels, like if you look them up on YouTube, it'll say like 2 a.m. fresh air or like the night she got away.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck are you even talking about?
Yeah.
But whatever, man. Like some of it just helps calm me down. But I could see like, I know that there are some episodes of Adventure Time that wrecked me. And from what I've heard, because I think HBO Max just released the last one.
Yeah.
And people that, like, I haven't seen, I'm not caught up on the series. Like, I'm still like a season or two behind. But from what I've seen, the last episode is just a heartbreaker.
That's what I've heard. Shayla says that I don't think she finished it. I don't think she could, she said. It was a little too hard for her. But I don't know if she's giving it another shot. But,
I was watching it. It became my my treadmill companion for a little bit, but I decided to get caught up on Rebels because I'm watching Bad Batch, and I'm almost through with Rebels. And then once Rebels is over, then I'll go back to Adventure Time.
Season 3 and 4 of Rebels are probably my favorite.
So far, they're the most consequential, and it's just a cool show.
Yes.
And it really, like, if you're watching The Mandalorian, there's a great meme now. It's like a picture of like royalty, and it says, "This is how people who watched Clone Wars and Rebels feel watching The Mandalorian."
Yeah.
Because it's like everything makes more sense.
Yeah.
And it's really cool that they got Starbuck to do the voice of Bo-Katan, and she is Bo-Katan on The Mandalorian. I don't know her. Katie Sackhoff. I always know her as...
That's an interesting last
That's her name, and she was Starbuck on Battlestar Galactica.
You know, it's... would you say that the Clone Wars aged well?
The cartoon?
Yeah, the cartoon. The animated series. Okay, would you think Attack of the Clones aged well?
Oh man, I don't know. The CG there was good enough for the time. You can watch it and not feel it's too aged.
Yeah.
But it's still very, very CG. And it to the point where it's like, oh God, I don't even know, man. Because there are new movies that I feel look worse.
Yeah.
But I can't give a definitive answer. I'm going to say they still hold up.
Okay.
I haven't watched the prequels in a long time.
The reason I ask is because that is the topic of the show today.
Yeah.
And that is going to be movies that we believe did not age very well. Now, there's a couple of things that we want to throw out disclaimers at the beginning of the show, right, Jose? And that has to do with like new or cultural norms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some caveats to this.
Mm-hmm.
We had a hard time with this. So when we talk about this, we're trying not to judge the movie itself. So every single one of these, they're like a product of their time. But for one reason or another, maybe a certain aspect of it didn't hold up.
Yeah.
Especially, I want to say in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
There's been a move towards kind of cultural sensitivity, towards all sorts of different things that basically make it impossible to look at any movie from before 2010 and not think, there's something not right about it.
Yeah.
But, film is art. It shouldn't necessarily, not every movie is going to be Birth of a Nation, right? It's just, you know what I mean? Like, it's not that bad.
I think sometimes we forget that the idea of film was to have us escape reality. But I think that it has become such art imitating life, imitating art at times, that I think we are going to try to stay away from that and not necessarily say that this is a bad movie because of the cultural norm now, but like you said, a product of its time. These are some specific movies that we decided to come up with and say, it just, the style did not look good, right? Like, this is a 90s film that was totally 90s, or, you know what I mean? Things like that.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, we can touch on some of the other stuff,
yeah.
but I don't want to, like, condemn these movies. It's not like they're bad per se, or they were, like, malintentioned.
Yeah. I love Revenge of the Nerds.
Revenge of the Nerds is a great flick.
I love that flick. That's one of my favorites. But obviously, it would not hold the test of time now.
Yeah,
it would not be released now.
Yeah,
right?
I would argue you show that to like a younger kid.
Yeah,
they'd be like, "Whoa!" But at the same time, like it's still a classic, right?
Yeah,
it's a comedy classic.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Animal House or anything like that, right? Like Bachelor Party. Movies like that were a testament of the '80s, right? Or just definitely changed in time. Like, for example, the TV show 30 Rock. There's episodes that just aren't on Prime Video or Hulu because they don't sit well anymore, right?
Well, and I was going to say comedy in general has that issue where it doesn't necessarily age well.
Yeah.
So,
except if you're Dumb and Dumber, apparently.
Right. Well, I mean, that's, Dumb and Dumber was just slapstick.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing there. It was hilarious, but it was just, there was nothing there to really.
Yeah.
Whereas, example, like one of the movies. So some of these movies, I looked up lists. I'm like, well, what's going on? Like, because I couldn't think just off the top of my head.
Yeah, me neither. It was really difficult to think of a movie that I remember just watching. Be like, well, that kind of. I think when you watch movies that you feel like, oh, this one didn't age well. Well, no, because it's an 80s flick. Like, it's not supposed to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean.
I think it's kind of, this is actually a really difficult
episode.
This
is a tough one.
This is a tough one
and I came up with some reasons for movies to do. Okay. So you've got your idea of, like, sex and gender roles, right? Mm-hmm. One of the things that was a thing in, like, a lot of movies I saw, like in Dirty Dancing, was a movie that I saw on the list. It's because I think the girl was 17.
Yeah.
Just, not okay.
Just not okay.
And a lot of movies are like that where like that chick, she's 16. It's like, all right, not cool.
Yeah.
You got, your cultural norms, especially with, gay rights now. There's a lot of movies where the butt of the joke is this guy's gay or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Race relations.
Yeah.
Right.
Breakfast at Tiffany's, I think, was the biggest
Breakfast
one.
at Tiffany's was the big one.
The big one.
where they talked about how, here's like a classic movie, but you got Mickey Rourke playing a Japanese guy.
Yeah.
Not okay.
Yeah.
And then the other ones that are like kind of more probably where we'll fall is like special effects. There's definitely a line where special effects age to a point where like, oh, those are just old.
Yeah.
And then you get to a point further down the line where you appreciate like, dude, that guy had to build a model and somehow make it move.
Yeah.
Whereas there's like that age line. The one thing that I think does not hold up well at all is like early CG. Okay. Because there are some CG parts of movies where you're just like, ooh, that looks really bad.
There's a scene in Back to the Future where he is controlling the DeLorean, where Doc Brown's controlling the DeLorean with the remote control, and when it hits 88 miles and it disappears, and they have the two lines of fire, and when it moves, the fire, like Marty McFly's foot is like right in the middle of the fire. It's janky. It's so janky, but you can't base the whole movie on that.
Okay,
right?
and here's the thing about special effects, right? You have to look at those from the point of view of like at the time, this was the best they could do.
Yep.
One of the best examples I can think of is Star Wars. I showed an old coworker the original Star Wars. She had never seen it. And she saw it and she's like, these special effects are terrible. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, they're terrible. They just look like little toys. I'm like, because they are. She's like, my mom told me that the special effects were amazing. I'm like, yeah, your mom saw it in 75.
Yeah.
Like, in 1975, no one had ever seen anything like this, right?
Yeah.
Or 77.
77.
And it's like, no one had ever seen these, right? Yep. Like, you can't compare the two. Like, you can't look at it now and be like, oh, that's terrible. Like, this was the best they could do.
It always reminds me of Boogie Nights, where every time I think Star Wars, I always go to Boogie Nights where he talks to Dirk Diggler and he goes, did you ever watch Star Wars? Yeah, 4 times. People say I look like Han Solo. And he just stays quiet and stares at him the whole time, where John C. Reilly is staring at Mark Wahlberg. Yeah. And that's like every time I think of Star Wars, I always go to Boogie Nights, which is one of my favorite movies. I love that movie.
Boogie Nights is a good one.
Yeah. But yeah, you know what? Yeah, why don't we just run down a couple of these films and just kind of breeze through them and kind of just talk about them. How's that?
Okay, so all right, so why don't you start with your list so that if you have something, I'll cut it off of mine.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll go with like the cultural norm. I did write down 2 of them, right, to talk about like cultural norms and how times have definitely changed. But I think it's for the better, right? I mean, because I think everybody definitely needs somebody, I guess you can say, to like to defend them. And I think Shallow Hell is definitely one of those movies where, like we were talking about earlier, the butt of the joke is just like, hey, this girl's just a heavier woman.
Yeah,
she's just heavy, and this guy is super shallow, and that's the entire thing of the movie until the end where he realizes, hey, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, sort of thing, right? So I think that's definitely one. I also put down, and I pronounced you Chuck and Larry, which is something, because when I was doing research, those are 2 movies that like immediately popped up on like a lot of these articles that I was reading.
Yeah.
And I just said, wow, like a lot of these movies would not be made now.
Yeah, you couldn't get away with a movie where the whole butt of the joke is a dude is made to feel bad for dating a bigger girl.
Yeah.
Like that for sure. Mm-hmm. And as far as Chuck and Larry, it's kind of like for the gay community, it's been a long road,
yes,
right?
A very long road.
I never saw I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. I don't think who was in that? Adam Sandler and Kevin James.
Yeah.
I don't think they, I think they were just making a dumb comedy at the time.
Yeah.
But again, Adam Sandler is one of those guys where it's like, so many of his movies are just at this point kind of cringeworthy.
Anything he touches just gold, though. Like, how can you imagine what it feels like to just be like, I'm gonna make this movie and I'm just gonna invite my friends and we're gonna make millions of dollars.
So my thing is, I
applaud him for that, though.
With Adam Sandler, I can't be mad at the guy.
No,
because I haven't really watched any of his later flicks.
I heard the one where he's a gambler. Is that right? Where he put I don't remember the name of the movie.
There's a movie that
Yeah.
came out recently where it's a serious role.
Yeah, he's just praised for that role.
And I know, like, because in Punch Drunk Love he did really well.
Yes.
And I know he has that ability. And I've heard this criticism, like people are like, why doesn't he do more serious roles? Like, well, because dude, he gets to make movies. He hires the same like 20 guys.
Yeah.
They pay him millions of dollars, and all they do is fuck around for like weeks at a time, and they get paid.
Yeah.
That's why he does all that shit. Like, why wouldn't you?
Will Ferrell does a really good job. Like when he did Stranger Than Fiction, that was when Will Ferrell did Stranger Than Fiction. I was like, man, this guy's got skill on him, dude.
I haven't seen it, but I'm sure. I know Will Ferrell. Like he seems like he'd be good. I know like the king of that was like Robin Williams. Like he could go in any direction.
Yes,
and he was able to kill it every time.
Did you ever hear Robin Williams stand up before?
Yeah,
it was very different. Like when I first heard it, I couldn't understand. I didn't understand it at first.
He was borderline like annoying with something. He was just so over the top.
Yeah,
but at the same time, there was like something about him stealing jokes. I remember there was like a controversy. People had talked about it, and I don't know if like it was legitimate or not. We'll have to look it up for a later
we're gonna
episode.
have to,
but,
absolutely.
But I do know that like his stand-up was considered like he was a big stand-up for a while.
Yeah.
And like in the stand-up boom in the 80s.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan actually talked about like a story. I guess Robin Williams went out to see Joe Rogan, heard he was funny, and like was apparently like a stand-up guy. Like waited till after the show, waited in line with everyone to go meet him, and like was asking him questions about his bits and stuff. But yeah, like he was just one of those dudes when it came to acting, like he was just next level. Like his comedic roles and even his dramatic roles.
Yeah.
I remember I showed have you ever seen What Dreams May Come?
Yes.
I showed that to Marta and she's like, fuck, dude, I never thought I would look at Robin Williams in that way. I'm like, yeah dude, he's legit.
Yeah. Well, even in Good Will Hunting.
Oh, Good Will Hunting,
just Dead Poet Society, Good Will Hunting. Like he's done a lot of magnificent roles. I think Robin Williams, in some weird way, is underrated for the things that he's done because he's recognized to do, right? He's recognized for Mrs. Doubtfire, right? Or Mork from Mork and Mindy. Like, but people forget that, dude. When he did 1 Hour Photo was creepy.
So 1 Hour Photo was amazing. Yeah, and he did a really good job.
I'll never forget when I think he's dreaming and he's just in like this white room. And he's covering his eye. When he opens it, just blood starts to spill out of his eyes. And I remember just freaking out when I watched that. I was like, that is the creepiest thing. Yeah, that kudos to Robin Williams, man. May he rest in peace, dude. He was a badass.
There was a movie that he did. I'm going to see if I can find it.
Or Good Morning Vietnam, right?
Good Morning Vietnam is that's a great. But there was a movie he did. I'm going to see if I can find it. Where he played like... It was like a dystopian future flick, and he played this like editor of memories. Basically, people are born, and the minute they're born, they're implanted with this thing in their eye that records their entire life. And then his job is at the end to go through, edit the footage, and like present it.
What movie was that?
It's called The Final Cut.
The Final Cut
in 2004.
Yes,
it was legit, and I'm like, dude. Not only is this like a whole different kind of thing for him, but it was like that's a fucking high concept sci-fi movie.
Yeah,
man,
absolutely. Bicentennial Man was pretty cool.
Really,
I thought. You know why? Because he was born on my birthday.
Bicentennial Man,
or I think they gave him the rights to be right. Like they made him human when he was. I think I remember just them saying my birthday. I was like, oh, cool.
Can I?
I was a kid, dude. I don't know. That's the only thing I don't remember watching the movie.
Our mutual friend, I haven't talked to him in years, but Johnny. Fucking love Bicentennial Man.
Really? I was just kidding. I just remember the birthday.
I fucking love that movie. I remember him being drunk and making us watch it one time. And it brought back a fucking memory because he said the line, and I remember it from the fucking commercial. But it's Robin Williams as a robot. So for people who have never seen or heard of Bicentennial Man, it's a movie where Robin Williams plays a robot that I think lives for like a really long time. I think two centuries. But he like is trying to become human or something, and he's trying to find another robot like him because he's like aware.
Yeah.
So he runs.
He's the only one
He's
that's
like the
aware.
only one that's
Yeah.
aware, and he runs into a girl robot that is like wild and free. And at one point, she says the line, "Let's get loco, Robo." And it was in all the fucking commercials. And when that part of the movie came on, Johnny like did the dance and said it just like the girl. And I'm like, fuck, man. Like,
I
how
don't think
many
I've ever
times have
met
you seen
somebody
this
who
movie?
loves that movie.
Well, now you have.
I guess so.
I just remember thinking like this.
Johnny was Johnny was my neighbor.
Yeah.
Right, and you met him at when you were working at Sears. He was steps away. The distance of where the back door to my house to the garage. That's how close he was.
Dude,
Yeah, we used to jam when we were in high school too. He had a bass, and him and I would like. Play
me and him were in a little band for like a little bit. He was coming over from Sears. That guy, man. The fact that he's alive.
Yeah.
God bless him.
Yeah.
God
Shout
bless
outs
him.
to you, Johnny, for listening.
If you ever listen to this, man, you are a fucking.
You are awesome, dude.
You're awesome, dude. You are a good man, dude.
Yeah. Johnny was good people, man.
He was good people.
Good peeps. Another one that I have was Chasing Amy. And the reason I chose Chasing Amy is because if you ever watch that flick now, it is outside of the story, it is 90s as 90s can get.
Yeah.
It is a rated R version of Saved by the Bell. And by that I mean the clothes, the color schemes, the jean jackets, the all that stuff is totally 90s. There's a scene with Matt Damon and Brian O'Halloran when they're trying to buy Blunt Man and Chronic, the comic book, trying to buy the rights so they can adapt it into a TV show, so like an animated show. And they're looking at him and they say, the days of Beavis and Butthead are over. Like, we want these. But you look at them, dude, and you just look at like the style that they have, like these big time execs, totally 90s executives. And I remember watching that movie I want to say a few months back because it was on like HBO Max or something. And I said, man, this movie's so 90s. Like, it is beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like, I think the movie that just like straight 90s. Mallrats too is actually pretty 90s.
I think just Kevin Smith's the movies he came out with in the 90s are like the equivalent of the only equivalent is like John Hughes in the 80s. Yeah. Like, you watch a John Hughes movie, you know that's a 1980s. Like, just the way they walk,
I would think everything besides Clerks is I just think Clerks is just his holy grail, right?
Well,
like,
yeah, but that's still definitely like a 90s flick.
Yeah,
right?
that's
like,
true, yeah.
Although, I mean, there are movies where, like, if someone were to ask me, like, what is the 90s was like, I mean, dude, you watch Clerks. Yeah. Everything sounded like that. People talk like that. That's what they look like. Yeah. Minus it being in black and white. Yeah. If you wanted a more, like contemporary-looking movie, I'd be like, yeah, like, watch Mallrats.
Do you know anybody that tucks their pants into their docks now? I don't think that's a thing anymore, is it?
You know what, dude? The 90s style is huge. So I'm sure there are kids that do it. I haven't seen it.
I wonder if that's still a thing. Do you remember when the Tweety Bird jean jackets were a thing? The Looney Tunes jean jackets?
I remember those. I remember when Looney Tunes, like the gangster style Looney Tunes was the hot ticket, man.
Do you remember the I'm the Boss t-shirt?
I remember I'm the Boss.
Yeah.
I remember.
Not too many people remember that. Those are...
I mean, you get like the Stussy S, that S everyone used to draw and shit. Yeah. Massimo.
Yeah, Massimo.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Oakley's being a big thing.
Yeah. Well, when we were growing up, it was late 90s, early 2000s, but I think that's when we kind of started to change into like the skater era. Yeah. Right?
That's
like
true.
Osiris's and World Industries. And, and what else we got? Etnies. And I had a pair of brown Etnies that I never forget. They were my favorite shoes.
I had soaps.
Oh, did you? Mm-hmm. I never got any.
They're fun. We used to grind rails like with the soaps.
Huh. Interesting. Let's see what else I got here. Sorry, great podcasting because I'm going through my list here.
No, do what you need to do.
Great podcasting. I also got. Oh, another one that I thought that I saw that really made me think of it was Hackers. Hackers, War Games, like those movies. When it comes to anything that has to do with like computers, right, in the 90s or in the 80s, totally different from now. Like, did not age well.
Well,
And that's just because of the internet, right?
So Hackers is great.
Yeah.
I fucking love that movie.
Yeah.
There are a lot of hackers out there today that will tell you that they love that movie. Even though, like, obviously it's, like, completely inaccurate into how you hack things.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you know what? Some of it's actually pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Obviously not when you're hacking, you're, like, flying through 3D space or whatever.
Yeah.
But a whole bunch of, like, the social engineering. There was an article on Crack that talked about how some of the greatest hacks of all time were done by people that really didn't know much about computers. Because all hacking means is you're getting into a system that you're not supposed to be in.
Yeah.
So much of hacking is like, and you see it in the movie, they'll call in and be like, oh, this is tech support. And we're running like a maintenance thing. Can you give us your password? And then that's how they would get passwords and they'd get in and do shit like that. So like a lot of hackers will pose as like fucking janitors because so many people write their passwords on like Post-its underneath their.
Yeah.
So like shit like that.
Yeah.
But or like I actually knew a kid that did this. Phone phreaking. You know what phone phreaking was?
No, I don't know what phone phreaking is.
So in Hackers, there's a scene where the kid carries around a little tape recorder, that plays the dial tones.
Yeah.
And what you used to do, and they said it in the movie, and I don't remember this how I did it, but I remember he had the tape recorder. You drop a bunch of quarters into the payphone. You record the tones it makes, and then when you want to make a phone call, you play the tape. Like the tone, like the tape tones into the phone, and it lets you make the call.
Huh.
Because all the phone is doing, it's listening for the tones in the right sequence.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh shit, I saw a kid in high school who did it. I mean, this was like 99, 2000.
Yeah, when we still had payphones.
So you still had payphones, so like that's what he used to do. And it's like, oh,
I remember
shit.
we had like a row, like 3 or 4 payphones in front of our cafeteria.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're not there anymore, but... Have you ever seen Have you seen a payphone in the last 10 years?
I'm sure I have, but I'm not like I've seen the shells of them. I don't think I've seen like a functioning.
I don't think I've like a functioning payphone. Yeah, I don't think I've seen one either. Well, you know what? I think outside of there just being good movies, just because like war games, I love war games, like
war
the
games
Matthew
is good.
You know, but it is so behind when it comes to technology that they just don't age well.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean? Like that. I think that's the biggest thing. Like the movie, like the game, like the game movie. Wow, what's wrong with me? One beer and woo. Anyways, the movie Swordfish is one of those movies that just did not age well. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff.
I remember that being the biggest movie. I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's because it was Halle Berry.
And because you saw her.
Because you saw her nude, yeah.
You saw her topless.
Yeah.
But dude, that's another one of those movies that, like, at the time was a fucking massive hit.
Yep.
No one talks about that shit.
Nope.
Like, I haven't heard anyone except for you, because we're talking about ever mentioned Swordfish.
Or like Antitrust with Ryan Phillippe. Whatever happened to that guy?
Which one was Antitrust?
Antitrust was the I think he was a hacker. It was I think it was after Swordfish. You got to look at it. Antitrust with Ryan Phillippe.
Okay.
That was the one that I remember watching maybe once, and I think he played some sort of hacker. I might be wrong. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Antitrust is a 2001 techno thriller.
Techno thriller.
Techno thriller.
We got to make a new genre called techno thriller.
Antitrust, a young idealistic programmer in a large corporation that offers a significant salary, an informal working environment, and creative opportunities to those talented enough and willing to work for them. And I'm guessing that there's some underhanded shit that's going on in there.
It has to be.
But it does star my 90s crush of all time, Rachel Lee Cook.
I love her.
Josie of Josie and the Pussycat.
Yes, that's right. Are you talking about She's All That?
She's All That. Rachel Lee Cook. Yeah. Another movie that apparently did not age very well.
No. I love Rachel Lee Cook, dude.
All that matters is that she gets hot.
Yeah. Josie and the Pussycats.
Again, we still need to watch that.
We need to watch that. That movie's awesome. Yeah, I love that movie.
And that song is my guilty pleasure song, man.
It's great. I love that one. How about you, dude? What else you got?
Okay, so when I was looking at this, there's just a bunch of movies from the 80s that were like, okay, I get it, right?
Yeah.
You know, Revenge of the Nerds, okay, there's some stuff that you wouldn't see today.
I saw something too on Ghostbusters. I skimmed through. I didn't read that, but
I
I
read
saw
that one, and that one was just they were talking about how.
I think I saw that Boomer was just a creep in that movie.
She's like, I was watching with my daughter, and he was a creep with
I saw that. Weaver. I was like, oh, stop
and I'm like, dude, stop it.
Yeah.
Like that.
Now you're just looking for reasons.
Yeah. He was being forward. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
He's not creepy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Yeah. Granted, Ghostbusters holds a very special place in my heart.
Same here.
So I don't know. Maybe
Same
I'm
here.
not being objective, but I think that's a stretch.
All I know is that Sigourney Weaver was gorgeous in that movie.
Sigourney Weaver was
Oh
great.
my gosh, she was gorgeous. She's beautiful. She was so beautiful. That was my growing up. I used to think her and Rachel Lee Cook. Well, Sigourney Weaver just in Ghostbusters. I was like, oh, that girl's hot. I mean,
she was cute in Ghostbusters, man. She was. I mean, God, it was. In Ghostbusters again. That's just classic.
Yeah,
classic.
yeah. I think we might be a little subjective just because of the fact that we love that movie so much, you know. Right. But yeah.
Okay, so when I was going through this, a lot of the teen sex comedies, they don't tend to age well.
Yeah, I have that written down. Basically, every teen movie, just don't tend to age very well.
But okay, so here's one.
I think that has to do with the fact that we get older, because those movies aren't made for 30-year-olds.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Superbad is a movie that I can watch all day, though. I love Superbad.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on a list, and I haven't watched it in a while.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, it was a funny movie. I remember seeing it all the time. But again, so like, here's another one that, this one plays on a subject that, fuck man, is not okay. But at the same time, there's got to be a space for it, and that's Tropic Thunder. So
that one's pretty tough.
That one's hard because you've got Robert Downey Jr., one of the most beloved fucking actors of all time, and he's doing blackface.
Yeah,
but it's the character in the movie is like, it's like a fucking it's like a satire.
Yeah, it's a satire,
right?
Yeah,
and it's like, fuck, dude, like you can't. There was a thing a couple months ago where, like, I think it was on Twitter, really young, like Gen Z kids just figured out that Tropic Thunder happened.
Yeah.
And they're like, fuck, dude, Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man did a blackface movie.
Yeah.
And they were trying to,
in
like,
the film, he augmented his skin, right? Like in the movie, he took the role so seriously that's what he did. He like surgically augmented his skin. It's from what I remember.
No, I think because at the end, I think he takes it off.
Oh, he takes it off.
He turns into like
Oh, okay.
So that one is just kind of like, dude, like I know that there's, I mean, obviously you're not.
Or like you have like Ben Stiller playing Simple Jack.
Simple Jack.
Right?
So that was the other issue people had, were like, because I saw it on some list, and they're like, okay, so we'll give Robert Downey Jr. a pass because it was a character, like it was clearly satire.
Yeah.
But the whole idea of Simple Jack.
Yeah.
And then the whole, oh, you went full retard.
Yeah.
Like it was just
you
like,
never go full retard.
And it's just kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it's comedy.
Yeah.
And again, comedy has a hard time aging, but people got to laugh at something.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
But
it's kind of like the idea, like for me, Wayne's World holds a special place in my heart. But did that movie age well, or is that just is that just like a timepiece of its time? Like that is just a 90s movie without a shadow of a doubt. But if you watch that now, is it like this is a total 90s movie, or is it just because I love that movie so much? If I showed it to somebody else, would they think that, like, oh, this movie didn't age well?
I think the comedy holds up, but the aesthetic of it,
doesn't,
because
hold.
it's so in that 90s rock scene. You had mentioned The Matrix.
Yes, I did.
Earlier.
Yeah, I did.
And I think The Matrix holds up in terms of special effects, and story.
Yeah.
But what I will give you is the idea of like what the good guys are wearing.
Yeah.
Is such a like late 90s, early 2000s idea of what a badass looks like.
Yeah.
But I also think that part of that comes from the idea that, dude, when The Matrix came out, every fucking movie did a parody of it.
Yep.
Every fucking TV show did its bullet time shit.
Yeah.
Everyone started to dress and like it permeated the culture for fucking ever.
Yep.
So it's kind of like that's a hard one. Like it's a fucking victim of its own success.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the things that the Matrix, that the problem with the Matrix, and I think we've had this conversation. I don't know if we've had it on air before. It's the fact that if the Matrix did not have Revisited and Reloaded, it would be a movie that people still talk about.
Reloaded and
you know what I
Revolution.
mean? But if they just didn't do those two films, those sequels, I think that flick would be a flick that would just still be talked about to this day.
I still think The Matrix holds up as a perfect sci-fi movie.
But the fact of the matter is that there's still the sequels that you're gonna like. If I showed my nephews The Matrix and they find out that Reloaded and Revisited are after those, they're gonna watch them.
Yeah.
If those weren't there, they would say this movie's rad. But I still feel that even till this day, if you watch those other two, it just devours it just like derails us, just kind of makes it not as good. You know what I'm saying?
I think you can still appreciate the first one. I understand what you're saying. I liked Reloaded and I liked Revolutions. I just thought that the ending of those movies was so unsatisfactory.
Do you remember how excited we were for those?
Oh, I remember, dude. I remember I really liked Reloaded. I thought the idea of the programs, writing of the programs, I thought it was cool. And I remember saying I was on the edge of my seat the entire fucking time for Revolutions.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until we got to the very end where, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the end of Revolutions.
Everybody dies.
Nobody dies. Except for Neo and Trinity.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, like, well, wait a minute, you guys are just not going to fight anymore? Like, you're ending at a stalemate.
Yep.
And my joke was always like, there's that scene at the end where that like kid that really likes Neo runs back into the cave, and it's like, we won, and everyone fucking cheers, and they're fucking cheering for like 2-3 minutes, and then they're like, well, now what? Because the machines are still on the top, right?
It's so funny because it reminds me of like Austin Powers, where they're doing the evil laugh, and they're just like laughing. They're doing the evil for like 2 minutes, and it just kind of like shuts the edges. They keep laughing, and it just kind of like, well, what do we do after this laugh?
It's like, look, dude, I get
Yeah.
that you don't have to worry about the machines coming to get you. You still live in a hole in the ground. You're still drinking your own pee.
Yeah.
You know, like, you can't go to the surface. Like, you're just, it's the same.
It's the same. Nothing happened.
Right.
Yeah.
But maybe people, and then there's still a Matrix with people in it.
Yeah. Isn't there a fourth one coming?
So there is a fourth one that's a
what I've
direct
heard,
sequel.
yes.
So that one.
A direct sequel to the Matrix or to Revisited? Or
No,
Reloaded?
it takes place. So I actually looked this up because I fell down a Matrix rabbit hole a couple months ago.
Okay.
So there is lore as to what happened after Revolutions.
Okay.
There was an online.
Is it Reloaded and where's Revisited then?
Revisited? I think Revisited is like a special. Or
Is that what it is? Okay, I don't remember.
But
I Reloaded and
after the last one, Revolutions, there was an online game, and the online game told the story of what happened to like Morpheus and like the whole crew.
Yeah.
And the idea that like, where's Neo's body? Like, we want his body back because no one knows what happened to him.
Yeah.
So there's story there, and apparently because Neo is like the one, like his consciousness is somewhere in the Matrix.
Okay.
So I don't know where the next
He's
one
like
will
the
take
Luke
on.
Skywalker of the Matrix.
Kind of, right?
Yeah.
Like I mean, and now granted, here's the other thing that I think was hard for the Matrix sequels was in the first one, they talk about how if he's the one, anything he wants will happen in the Matrix, right?
Yeah.
So then why in 2 and 3 is he fighting things? Why doesn't he just turn into a tank and blow everyone up?
Yeah.
It's like, if he's supposed to be the one, and in part 1, he jumps into a guy's chest and explodes him.
Yeah.
Why even bother doing these karate fights?
Yeah.
And the other thing I will give the 2 and 3 that I think kind of hurt it is the choreography got way more advanced in 2 and 3 to the point to where like there are times where it doesn't even look like he's trying to hit Neo.
Yeah.
It's like he's punching away from him to just fit the choreography.
Yeah.
But again, I still like them, but those are just nitpicks.
Yeah, I'll tell you
But
what I tell other
very
people.
unsatisfactory ending. Like
when they say, Well, why didn't they just do that? Why didn't he just run down the stairs when the killer's running after him?
Right.
Because the movie would be over.
Right.
Right? Because why didn't you turn into a tank? Because the movie would be over. Right.
But I mean, you could still argue that.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
You could say something. You could have written it to like, okay, they know he's the one. They could have changed the Matrix to make it harder for him. I don't know.
It's kind of like people always. I remember I always have this conversation with people about like Child's Play, and I say, well, if Chucky's a doll, why don't you just kick the doll? It's like just kick him or do. It's like it's a doll coming at you with it because the movie would be over. Right.
No.
That's it. It would be a 30-second flick on how they kicked Chucky out and they ripped his head off and it's over.
Let me go to one that I think is a movie I loved. But I think kind of going forward now, I understand why people. Yeah. Short Circuit 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Short Circuit. Hold on, let me get the actor's name because I forgot his name. Short Circuit. For those of you who don't remember Short Circuit, it is a movie in which this gentleman, his name in the movie was Ben Jabayuta, played by Fisher Stevens. Is a scientist who invents this robot who kind of looks like a skinless E.T.
Yeah.
Who just kind of does adorable fun things. But Fisher Stevens is a white person and is basically playing an Indian guy.
Yeah.
And the same reason they fired Apu, this guy got 2 movies out of it.
Yeah.
So I can understand why you'd be mad about that.
Yeah.
Same thing with Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah.
A classic. But Mickey Rooney playing a Japanese guy.
Yeah.
And basically doing like yellow face.
Yeah.
This guy doing brown face.
Yeah.
Probably not the best look.
Yeah, I agree. Another one that I actually sorry, keep going.
No, I don't know why I really love the movie Short Circuit 2, where at the end he becomes like a punk.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes. I do. Yeah. Another one that I actually had written on my list was Tron, the original Tron.
So again, like early CG stuff.
Stuff.
I was gonna say even like I put it here. I know it's a bold statement, but early CG stuff just does not look good.
Yeah.
They're like I was talking about earlier. You
Toy
can
Story.
Look at
like Toy Story, like
Toy Story 1, classic movie, but look at that movie now.
Yeah. Compared to 4.
Compared to 3.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to, I want to say Toy Story 2. They even talked about it. Toy Story 2 and 1. They made like massive leaps.
Yeah.
And I mean, shit, dude. Have you seen Soul?
That one I haven't seen.
Okay.
Yeah. Coco was amazing though.
Which one?
Coco.
So Coco, yeah, but like here's the point I was gonna make with that. If you watch Soul or like there was another one called The Good Dinosaur. If you took the characters out of those 2 movies, they would look like fucking photos.
Yeah.
Like if there were no cartoon people walking around Seoul, I'd be, it's a picture of New York.
Yeah.
It's like, or like with The Good Dinosaur, I remember noticing like, the fucking the environment where it's like a forest that just looks like Yellowstone or wherever. Like it's to a point where it's like photorealistic backgrounds are just a thing.
Yeah.
With people, I mean, obviously it's Pixar, so they're gonna make them look like cartoons. But, like, I know, like, when you do super realistic CG, like, did you ever see Beowulf?
I did see Beowulf.
So, Beowulf, if you watch it now, like, that looks weird, man.
Yeah, it does.
Like,
but do you remember when it first came out, you're like, holy crap, that thing was...
That, I was like, oh, man.
That was great.
It's a fully... They look just like... Or, like, Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within, or
The Spirits Within, all that stuff looks super real. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or kind of like when they did Carrie Fisher in The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Now you can kind of get away with it. It still looks...
like when they made Robert De Niro and oh my gosh, in The Irishman, Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
When they made him look young, right?
That was rough.
Yeah, that was a little rough.
That was rough because...
But that does not take away from how good that movie was.
No, the movies were great.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that there were scenes where it's like... Especially there's a scene where fucking De Niro beats up someone that was like fucking with his daughter.
Yeah.
And
in the market.
And he hovels over to him because he's De Niro. How old is De Niro?
Yeah,
right?
He has to be in his mid-70s.
He's fucking old.
Yeah.
And he walks up and he looks young, but he's walking like an old man because he's a fucking old man.
Yeah.
And he's like beating him up, and the actor's clearly like, oh. Like he's taking like
Yeah.
a soccer fall, like oh.
Yeah.
But I
What was the movie where De Niro and is it Sylvester Stallone were gonna have a boxing match?
De Niro and Stallone.
I think it was De Niro and Sly. Look, it's a boxing movie with De Niro and Sly at like older age.
Right.
I'm telling you, I think was it Sly? I'm pretty sure it was. Because that's like the only movies he knows. That and The Expendables.
Grudge match.
Yes, told you.
Grudge match. You're right.
Yep.
I mean, you got Rocky versus a Raging Bull.
Yeah.
Which
think
I'm sure
that was
is
the idea.
That's exactly how they sold it.
Yeah, I'm sure that's how they sold it. Rocky versus Raging Bull.
I mean, we're gonna have to watch that.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're gonna have to watch. I can't believe I remember that. I've never seen it, but we have to watch that. I think I'm sure I've seen bits and pieces because there's no way I just remembered that off the top of my head.
Right.
But I don't remember watching the flick. We're gonna have to watch that.
I mean, we're getting close to the end. What are our final thoughts on these movies that don't age well? This is a tough one.
You know what? This one's gonna be kind of a hard one to swallow. Just because I think the idea is good. I just feel that it's pretty hard because, like we talked about at the beginning of the program, is the fact that a lot of these movies are kind of just time capsules from when they were released. And it's pretty hard to say, well, wow, man, like that movie did not age well. Because I think a lot of it does have to do with the new norm, right? Like what is okay and what's not okay. And I think that has a lot to do with it. Because if you look back at some of these movies, they're not bad. But just, I think from like a visual outside of like a visual aspect, it's pretty hard to really like pick and choose. But it was fun to kind of go down to these movies and remember, like, oh, I remember that. I remember how bad that was or how good that was. But I can see why it's bad now, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like, even in Revenge of the Nerds, there's a part where not Lewis, the other one, Gilbert, right? Where Gilbert meets his girl, the girl, his to-be girlfriend, and she's like on the computer. She's on the computer, and he like creates these two little figures, like holding hands and having their little heart and stuff, and that's how he meets her and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like even that, I'm just like, wow, that did not age well, right? Like I think anything that has to do with computers or technology is definitely something that you can definitely say like, oh yeah, that did not age well. But it's cool to look back at some of these flicks and be like, man, I love that movie. Like it makes me want to go back and watch a lot of these movies that we talked about today.
And it's got to be the thing where you got to look at these things and appreciate them for what they are, right? They were made at a time that was what was going on, and just
sorry if you guys heard the motorcycle.
Yeah,
or is that just a muffler? I don't know what that was.
I don't know. That was something.
That was kind of loud.
But I guess at the end of the day, just enjoy what you got, man.
Yeah,
just enjoy
absolutely.
what you got. Watch movies.
Yeah.
Take in other people's experiences and just, synthesize those.
Yeah,
make them
it's
your
a lot
own.
of fun. Yeah. I will tell you one of my most annoying moments. I think this shows my age. When Avengers Endgame was released, I went to go watch it. There's a group of kids to my right. The part where Tony Stark touches on his chest and the suit comes out. Right, and he gets covered up with the nanotechnology and all that, right? And I just remember the kid screaming next to me, everyone cheering at the top of their lungs when he puts the suit on, right? And you just hear this kid next to me saying, nanotechnology, baby! And I'm like, I want to punch this kid, like, shut up. Like, oh my God. Funny. I'll never forget. He was so excited. I was like, okay, cool, man. Like, hey, I'm sure I probably would have reacted like that too, if I was young. It was pretty insane. Yeah, that was a good one. Oh my God. Well, let's into our last segment of the show called the Wind Down, where we talk about topics that interest us outside of what our original theme.
Well, was. I was actually I got a couple stories that are movie related.
Oh, okay, movie related. Okay,
for today.
Welcome to the Wind Down. It's whatever we want it to be.
So speaking of things that didn't age well,
sure.
And let's talk about this. Kevin Spacey.
Spacey. Yeah.
Hasn't been seen for a while.
Quite some time.
Some allegations came out about him and some underage boys, which is a thing.
Uh-huh.
He's set to star in a new movie. It's an Italian movie.
Okay.
But Can you watch Kevin Spacey movies now, knowing what you know? Can you separate the two?
I am the kind of guy that can separate those two things.
I think I am too.
I am.
Will you watch a new movie with him in it?
Yeah, I mean, if it's worth watching.
It's worth watching?
Yeah. I mean, I think House of Cards was an amazing show.
So I always go back to that Chappelle joke about it. Do you remember the Chappelle joke about Kevin Spacey?
I just remember the one with Bill Cosby.
So there's it was
where he's
in
like, bro, like even if you take 20 women away, that's still 30 women.
Yeah.
He's like, how can I support you? Yeah.
But he did a great bit talking about how like Kevin Spacey allegedly did this to this guy 30 years ago. So, like it happened in the 80s or 90s, right? He goes, and this man had been holding on to it his whole life. It damaged him. He couldn't wait 6 more months for them to finish House of Cards.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Like, oh my God. Yeah. Dude, Dave Chappelle is raw, man.
Dude, look, dude. There are very few bulletproof comedians.
Yeah.
And I think he's one of them.
Yeah, I agree.
He embraces it in such a way.
Yeah.
And the other thing about him is he's just thoughtful in his responses.
Yeah.
He doesn't just say shit to say shit. Like, he'll say shit and it'll be offensive, and then he'll explain to you, like, his process.
Yes.
Like, you can't get mad at that guy.
Yes. Yeah. One of my favorites, Dave Chappelle skits, he goes, I like to do my jokes backwards. He goes, I have a bowl of, like, punchlines.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that? Yeah, the punchline one? Yeah, and I'm just like, you're waiting for it, and when he explains it, you're just like, man, he messed me. Yeah.
It's classic.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, so this next one, they talk about, I guess, Kevin Feige, or Feige? How do you say his name? The Marvel guy. Kevin Feige.
No, it's...
Feige? Feige?
I don't know.
I don't know. Kevin F., the guy that runs Marvel.
Yeah.
He's talking about how now that the Eternals is coming out...
Yeah,
and,
I'm excited for the Eternals.
Was it Shang? What's the name? Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings?
Yeah.
He's been doing some press, and he talks about how now it was a mistake to cast Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One in Doctor Strange. Do you remember the controversy around that?
No.
So the Ancient One in Doctor Strange was a Tibetan man.
Oh,
and they changed it to like a Irish, like kind of like Celtic.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to perpetuate the stereotype of the wise Asian guy.
Yeah.
There was also reports that, Doctor Strange was going to be big in China.
Yeah.
And China does not like Tibet. So,
okay.
I just wonder if, especially now we make so many movies with China in mind that we kind of
huge market.
We self-censor.
Yeah, it's a huge market
to get it over there, right?
Yeah, it's a huge market.
And then there are some movies that are just, massive in China. That like Avatar,
huge, the #1 movie again of all time.
Because they re-released it in China.
And it just blew up.
Avatar is one of those I don't understand.
I think we've talked about this before. Yeah, it's like I don't understand it either. I remember leaving the movie just like I don't understand why everybody applauded.
Yeah,
like, it was a beautiful looking movie, I guess you can say. I shouldn't say beautiful. it was visually stunning.
It looked cool.
Yeah,
I'm
watching Dances. I'd rather go see Dances with Wolves.
Exactly.
Like that's literally. It's a great flick.
But so I find it interesting now that we're casting. We're doing all these things with all these different things in mind. It's like, dude, just pick the best actor. Pick the guy that fits the role.
Yeah.
And that, I think, would solve a lot of problems, right? It's like, even from a racial standpoint, it's like, pick the race the guy's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right? And if you want to mix it up,
at the end of the day, it's a marketing ploy.
You know what I mean?
It's all about marketing, man. Then you got to remember that these films are businesses, right? It's a business, and they got to make money. And
actually, now that I say that, I'm going to redact this. That I guess you can't always, because if you pick the race the guy was in the comic, it would just be a bunch of white guys.
It'd just be a bunch of white.
But I guess at the same time, it's like just pick the best actor for it and do what feels right for the character.
Yeah.
It's a weird world we live in.
Yeah.
This is the last story I want to talk about because I want to. I know this person doesn't listen, but if they do listen to this podcast somewhere, how do you feel the Jackass movies aged?
I'll be honest with you, man. I was never a big Jackass fan.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember feeling bad for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think at some point I realized they like having shit dumped on them from a porta potty. I don't know. I would just, it was never my thing. It was something that I had to watch before Sunday Night Heat on MTV, which is a WWF show that was on MTV for a while.
I used to love Jackass because I thought those guys were fucking hilarious.
Yeah. I like Bad Grandpa. Is it Bad Grandpa?
I haven't seen that one. But I always appreciated the, not just like the gross out humor was there, right? So yeah, the porta potty dumping. But,
yeah.
So I always liked more like when Wee Man dressed up as an Oompa Loompa and was like skating.
Yeah.
Or there was
that stuff was cool. Yeah.
Or there was a great skit, I think in the first Jackass, where they rig an office building and it was like Bam and Johnny Knoxville fall through the roof, and they're like in burglars' outfits, and they're holding bags full of diamonds.
Uh-huh.
So they fall through this roof into this office building, and fucking diamonds go everywhere. And this one guy just runs the fuck out. He's just out. And then they're still like in character. It's like, get the diamonds, you fool. And then it's like all these people are fucking freaking out.
Yeah.
And they interviewed the dude that ran out, and they're like, dude, you were out of there before I even hit the ground. And the guy's like, I see dudes in masks, I'm fucking out.
Yeah. There's a few that I like. I'm not saying, it was never my thing, but there was definitely a few that I liked. Yeah. So, I always liked when Wee Man and the bigger guy would chase him.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're like, these dudes are just looking at him. Those were good. And I guess I just don't like Bam Margera. I don't like that dude.
Bam is annoying as
I hate that. I don't like that dude. And him just bothering his dad I'll be honest, if I was his dad, I would be like, get the fuck out of my house.
How were you on Tom Green?
I like Tom Green though.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Tom Green was that rude as much as Bam Margera. Because you remember when Bam Margera would run and just smack the shit out of his dad and run away? Like, I would have been like, dude, I'm going to punch you in the face. Like,
I know, like, Tom Green, he put his, like, when he painted a mural on his parents' car of Cunnilingus.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. But
I think that's different, though. I mean, you're doing things to piss him off.
Yeah.
But you're physically, like, hitting him. You know, I don't know. That's just things I was like, dude, stop.
So
like,
I bring this up because, I mean, obviously they stopped making them, but they're making a Jackass 4. And fucking Johnny Knoxville suffered a brain hemorrhage, like on a stunt that went totally wrong.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, fucking dude, stop. Like, I get that if you're Johnny Knoxville.
How old are they now?
Oh, I'm going to look it up. But,
probably
dude,
their 50s, maybe?
They've got to be.
Their late 40s?
Fucking,
probably their late 40s, I'm assuming, right?
Let me see. Johnny Knoxville is currently, he's 50. So, in reading the article, they were talking about how it's like everyone that saw the fucking, the director said, I will never fucking unsee the fall. Yeah. Like the way this dude fell, like he should be dead. Oh my God. And like I've seen interviews with Johnny Knoxville talking about how like he's like he only can describe, it must be like being 78, like 80, like having not taken care of his body, like he can't pee right. And I'm just like, dude, like I get that this is a money train. I get that for all those guys, dude, they're always going to be the Jackass guys, right? Yeah. I mean, it's section like Steve-O got out of there, right? Yeah. Like he does like comedy and shit.
Ryan, he passed away, right?
One of the dudes died.
One of the guys,
drunk driving.
Yeah.
You know what I did like was Wild Boys. Did you ever watch Wild Boys?
Yes, I did see Wild Boys. Yeah.
But I just like, dude, stop with the stunts, man. Do something else.
Is Bam Margera still there?
There was something, I didn't read into that, but there was some sort of drama that he thought he wasn't invited because he got into like drugs and alcohol like really bad. So I don't know if he's in the next one, but he was a fucking key member. I did like CKY, his brother's band.
Yeah, CKY was cool. Yeah, I just hated his cut up gloves. And do you remember the band Him?
Oh fuck. Yeah, and that heartogram. I understand where you're coming. Bam Margera did inspire an entire generation of just assholes. and it was just it was bad. But if you're Johnny Knoxville or any of the other guys, just fucking stop. Just try to get a book deal or something. I don't know. Get a TV show.
Yeah. Do a podcast.
Yeah, do a podcast.
Yeah. I'm sure people would love to listen to your stories.
Yeah, stream something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Get on that Twitch. I know one of those guys is on there.
Do what we're doing.
Yeah.
And have us on the show.
Exactly.
So we can get more people to listen to us.
This is a good one.
Yeah, it was great. I had a fun time. I just can't get those cut gloves out of those fingerless gloves out of my head now. And then each one of them always had the heartogram on there. Did you ever listen to him?
No, I didn't. I did not.
There was one song that I used to like, and then as I got older, I was like, "What am I doing?"
I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, our beer's empty. That means that the show's coming to a close. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the show. We really appreciate it. Jose, where can people find us?
Your one-stop shop for everything Half Step Down is halfstepdownpod.com. You can find everything you want about us there. We are on Instagram and Twitter. We are at halfstepdownpod. We got a shout-out, or we got a like from the bass player for Voodoo Glow Skulls
Yes,
today.
I saw that. That was awesome.
Cool.
Yes, that's rad.
Check out our Instagram stories when they are available.
It's so funny because we started laughing at the same time. Like,
I just started today. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna post today. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I set a reminder on my phone, and I'm gonna take a picture of the mics tonight.
Yeah.
And you know what? The first post, we got some traction, right? We got a member of a band that we're talking about.
Yeah, I love it.
But I've not done a story, and I always talk about it, but we will get there.
Yes. I will give kudos to myself because I was posting all week last week on Twitter.
Good.
Yes.
You're
in charge of Instagram. I'm in charge of Twitter. So if people look at the Twitter and the Instagram, you can see who's winning and who's not winning.
I'm going to be much better. I'm going to take a picture before we go.
And the worst part is that we're laughing at the same time. Hey, we got traction, though. We got one like.
We got one like from a guy in a band.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes. Because they're coming out the new record.
They just did. They dropped it. That's what I posted.
Yeah,
I posted the thing. It's actually good.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get around to it. I just haven't done it yet.
It's not the. I mean, Frank, the singer, left.
Yes.
But the new singer's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you're on Facebook, facebook.com/halfstepdownpod. You can find us on YouTube. Road to 100. If we can get 100 subscribers, we can get a custom URL. For now, just look up Half Step Down Pod in the search bar. Check out the Spotify playlist. We've been updating that, so you got some new tunes to listen to.
Well,
I threw a couple in there.
We're so bad, but the summer's coming. We're gonna
summer's coming. Trust me.
We're gonna step it up.
I'm gonna get this system down.
We're gonna get this going. We're gonna sit down. We're gonna have another beer, and then we're gonna talk about what we have to do.
Right.
And then it might take us a few more beers to actually get it done, but we'll get it done.
We'll get it done.
Kind of like that walk we did when we went. When was it? When we went to the to that sushi place in Montebello, and we knocked out like two of those big ones.
Yes.
And they were like, "We need a walk, dude. Right. We need to walk this off." And then we walk like down to the other side of the mall, and we go to the beaches like,
let's get another beer.
Let's get another beer. Yeah.
It's the way to do it.
Yeah, it's the way to go.
And then finally, if you like what you hear, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to spread the word Half Step Down Pod. That's hashtag Half Step Down Pod.
Please spread the word. We have a lot of fun doing this, and we hope you guys have a lot of fun listening to us.
And don't forget TitanRadio.org and follow again Half Step Down Radio.
That's right. And this was fun.
Good time.
This was fun. We'll see you guys next week, everyone. Take care.
See ya.
Yeah, give it up for this guy. I promise you guys.
Just so we're all clear, that was not like a real song. Okay. I made that up.